guys, and welcome back to Hilltop Farm. I'm Jay, and today we're going to be doing a little bit of seed saving. It's getting to that time of year here. In particular, the beans. They've all sort of pretty much come to an end here. Some people are still planting out beans, but I've found that if beans aren't really planted within the first week or so of January, by the time they mature, it's starting to get too late in the season. It's getting too cool, and you don't get a very good crop out of them. So I'd rather be using the beds for other things. So seed saving is most important. I think one, it makes you more sustainable, and you know where your seeds have come from. Secondly, and probably more importantly, you know what you've got. Some seeds, yes, you do have the risk of cross-pollinating. Your squashes and your pumpkins are notorious for it. Tomatoes, again, you've got the same problem. But it's only a problem if you don't like what they produce. YouTubers that I follow in the UK, Richard and Paul, I'll leave a link to their channel down below, but Paul has an allotment, and he actually has produced a hybrid of two pumpkins. I can't remember the name of the original two, but he's nicknamed it a Cheeky Prince. And the Cheeky Prince here at Hilltop, because he sent me some seeds, and they do so well here. They really do. In fact, I've recently just sent him I think about half a kilo of Cheeky Prince seeds from ours for him to go on with. Because he's trying to get so many generations to see, you know, if they continue to produce true. But as I say, they're a mixture of two. Gives us our what we call, as I say, our Cheeky Prince pumpkins, and they're the best pumpkins we have here. They don't store for as long as some of the other pumpkins. We have the Japanese pumpkin, or some places call it a Kent pumpkin, and we have a butternut. We call it butternut pumpkin here in Australia, but for the rest of the world, it's butternut squash, really. Now we have those, and they stay on the shelf much longer than the Cheeky Prince. The Cheeky Prince you got to keep an eye on because they do go soft quicker. But having said that, they're the best colour, the best flavour. They're unreal. So my point being is, just because you do get cross-pollination doesn't necessarily mean that the food it produces is not going to be any good. And at the end of the day, that's what we're trying to do, is produce food. So that's all I'm worried about. So with seed saving, you can do it with all sorts of things. In my which just reminds me, I know I'm jumping all over the place, sorry about that. Our January garden diary was a big hit. We got a lot of positive feedback from that, and we are continuing with that. The February one is late because I haven't been well, and my mother has just had surgery. So with all that's been going on, we are running late with it, but we are going to be doing it in the next few days. So keep an eye out for that. We've got to get it done before we've got to start the March one. But we have started off a whole load of seeds for February, so you'll see what we've done there. But while we're out in the garden doing that, I'll show you some more. I'll touch on seed saving again because I want to show you some of the radishes that we're harvesting seeds from. So that'll be interesting. But as I say, these are beans. and it is quite simple. You either plant a few extra plants that you say to yourself at the beginning of the season, we're not going to harvest from this, we're just going to let them produce seed pods and we're just going to leave them on there, and they're going to be our seed saving ones. Or you can harvest them all, and when you see a sudden decline in them producing, then you can say, okay, this is our cutoff and we don't take from anything. And I play it a bit by ear with that. It depends on what, what we've been doing. We had a bit of a disaster with one of our favourite beans this year, so we didn't actually harvest any. The plants that did survive were kept solely to save the seeds, and it's a particular one that, strangely enough, we've never been able to find the seeds for. The nurseries around sell punnets of the seedlings, and I don't know if the seeds are covered by some sort of copyright or something, but you can never find them. Even when I look online, they just don't exist. So we seed save from that, so if they are covered under copyright, don't say anything. So those ones were raised specifically for the seeds, whereas the other two we did harvest from the plants, and when we thought they were starting to finish off, we let them go. Alright, now one is our, we've got broad beans here. These are a Coles broad bean. So you just leave it on the bush until it dies, basically. It's pretty simple. And then you crack it open, and then you end up with broad beans. What I tend to do, once they come out of there, I tend to put them in a paper envelope for probably an extra 2 to 3 weeks, just to double check, make sure they are properly dry. Once they've gone through that process, I then generally put them in a Ziploc bag and get all the air out. I then put them in the freezer. They stay in the freezer for about 5 days, and that kills off any bugs or anything that may be living in them or may have laid eggs in them. And once we've done that, they then get filed away in my little box, and we have a small fridge out in one of the sheds that we keep all the seeds in, and they just stay in there until next season. So, as I say, this is what we do with broad beans, and as I say, couldn't be simpler. Just open them up, drop them all in. Okay, now when you go to, because we've pulled the plants out and taken all these seeds off, as you can see, it's quite a bit there, but some of them are still a bit green. Okay, they're in various stages. Now this one, okay, this is green but not fresh. Now you see those. These are okay. These ones here. These probably are too young. You see, because they still have this, which attaches them to the inside of the pod where they get nourishment from. Until that shrivels up, they're possibly not ready. You could dry them and try them, you've got nothing to lose, but don't be surprised if something like that comes to nothing, you know, when you put it in the ground. What else have I got in here? There's one here that looks to be a little bit further along, still a little bit green, but not like the other ones. And it's putting up a bit of a fight. But, yeah, these are ready because they free fall out of the pod. You see, and the little tails that hold them hold them into the pod. Well, just throwing one back in the pot. They're all dried up, so they're not going to be an issue at all. They'll be fine. Okay, and obviously the empty pods in the compost bin. Okay, so that's that one. This one makes me die. I asked my daughter to go and harvest these so that I could do this video to show you. And she didn't know what the beans are actually called banjo. They're a type of dwarf bean called banjo. And she didn't know which ones they were. And I said, they're the ones outside the toilet window, which was the best way to describe it. It's the bed that's outside the toilet window you can see from the toilet. So, and I said to her, when you harvest any of these things, you always make sure you put a piece of paper, you label them so that we know what they are in case they get mixed up with something else. So I go to show you this, and she's labelled toilet. So instead of banjo bean, these are toilet beans. So they may get nicknamed that in the future. Anyway, so with these are a different family bean completely to the broad bean. And I'm not sure if I told you, the broad bean variety is Coles. I can't remember if I said that, but they're Coles. These, as I say, these are called banjo, and these are sort of a typical white bean. Can you see that? But they're slightly oval. Okay. The same thing applies. You with your dry ones, easy. You just open them up, they drop in, you know, and you save them. Your green ones, you have to look at, because as I say, your green ones like that, okay, they might not be ready. You can tell generally by the look of them. Oh, these mightn't be too bad, but you see they're not falling straight in. They're still hanging on to the pod. Oh, one fell in. Okay, but they're still attached to the pod, right, which tells you they're still drawing nourishment from the pod. A lot of people tend not to open the green ones. I generally don't. I put them to one side and then open them when they go brown and see what they're like. Alright, because you will notice with the two different ones, they feel very different. Okay. Oh, I can't hold this silly thing. I'm trying to show you, there we go, the difference in size. Now can you see that? If I hold it with my shirt in the background. Okay, very different. This one came from a dry bean, this one from a green. Okay, now if you leave them for a few weeks, this one will shrink down to this size. Alright, but they get the same treatment as the broad bean does. Alright, you know, left in a paper envelope for a few weeks, in the freezer, in the fridge, oh sorry, into a plastic bag, into the freezer, fridge, and then yeah, they get stored. Alright, so that's our banjo, sorry, toilet bean. And these are everyone's favourite. And we didn't get any this year because, as I say, we were saving them for seeds. These are a dwarf bean. They're a white French bean. And they're called Bonaparte. Now, if you happen to know that Bonaparte is covered under some sort of weird copyright, then I'm not saving the seeds at all. It's your imagination. But anyway, these are wonderful. And they are different to the others. The others were more an oval shaped bean, whereas these, I mean, some would argue they're oval shaped, but they're quite long and elongated by comparison. But these are the most gorgeous bean. It's a French green bean. I guess Bonaparte gives it away that it's a French bean. And if you get them before the seed develops too large inside, they're usually, just trying to find one amongst the green ones. Not, yeah, maybe, yeah, they're probably, I don't know, a fraction longer than that normally, and a bit thinner, maybe like that section there, but they're not furry, like some beans have sort of got a bit of a fur on them when you like the pods. They're not like that. They're smooth, and they're sweet and tender, and you boil your water, you drop them in, you count to 30, and then you strain them out, knob of butter on them. They are to die for, absolutely to die for. But you can't get the seeds for love nor money. As I say, here you can buy them from some nurseries. We've got a big chain here in Australia called Bunnings. They seem to stock them. Well, the South Australian Bunnings do. And I think Bunnings is like, oh, I forget what it's called. I know in England or the UK they have a chain of big hardware stores. I think in the US it's Home Depot or Depot or something, or Tractor Supply maybe. I don't know, but they've got, you know, it's a chain, and you're dealing with the big boys, which I deal with because I have to, like we all do, but I'd rather not. Particularly for something like seeds. I mean, you pay some ridiculous amount for 6 little plants. And I mean, when I plant out, you know, these seeds, to keep us all in green beans throughout the season, you know, I put in about 50 plants. So it cost a fortune to buy the plants from there. So, as I say, but we didn't have a very successful year because we had an early bout of heat, like ridiculous heat. It was 42 or 3 or something in November, which is well over the 100. And I say that's in November, so that's kind of like you guys in the north in May having this ridiculous over 100 heat wave. And because all our seedlings were so young and we lost so many. But next year we hope to be back in business. Well, later this year we hope to be back in business. Anyway, that's basically all I wanted to share with you. Do, where you can, save seeds. It's just the more sustainable thing to do. And it's a better sense of satisfaction. I think all of us gardeners know that sense of satisfaction of planting a seed and watching it grow and then harvesting the fruit or the leaves or the roots or whatever it is later down the track. It's an even bigger thrill when you've harvested the seeds from a plant the previous year. That's a real buzz. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you give it a thumbs up. and I hope you join us for the next video. Hit the subscribe button, and that way you won't miss out on the next video when we release it. And until next time, it's goodbye from Hilltop Farm. See ya!